ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm John Weeks, and this is The Leader. There it is, the moment football came home after 56 years, but this time thanks to the England women's team. The Lionesses pulled off what the men's team just missed out on at the final hurdle last year, securing not only the Euros trophy, but also a record crowd at Wembley for a women's home game of just over 87,000 people. The final also set the record for the most watched TV broadcast of a women's match, with the BBC revealing a peak TV audience of 17.4 million viewers. Today, thousands of fans flooded to Trafalgar Square in London to celebrate with the players, where Captain Leah Williamson made a speech.
Yeah, what we've done for women and young girls that can look up and aspire to be us.
And in the press conference after the game on Sunday night, England manager Sarina Wiegman said the success of the tournament had changed the world.
I think this tournament has done so much for the game, but also for society and women in society in England, but I also think across Europe and across the world, and I hope that will make a change too.
So how significant has this tournament been for women's football, and what more needs to be done to push the sport to the next level? Joining me now is Yvonne Harrison, CEO of Women in Football, a professional network supporting the women's game. So Yvonne, first of all, how did you enjoy the win last night?
Yeah, I mean, how could you not enjoy it? It was edge of the seat stuff. It was nerve-wracking, but just an incredible performance from the Lionesses and in an unbelievable atmosphere. Yeah, it was immense. The parties were insane. You know, when you walked down Wembley Way after, the amount of people that stayed in the stadium to just celebrate, it was unbelievable. And such warmth and such recognition from all the people who've kind of gone before that have helped the Lionesses and the England team get to that point. It was really special.
And there's so much talk about how the profile of this tournament will really boost the game. Why do you think this Euros has been so popular?
I think, number one, it's a home Euros. England do an incredible job of getting behind national teams and, you know, so that in and of itself, it's visible. It's been across 9 host cities, so it's been accessible for people to be able to get to. So I think that definitely helps. I think the fact it's been broadcast on the BBC has been immense. You know, people have been able to watch women's football who perhaps have never done so before. So yeah, I think there's some of the reasons why people sort of got behind it. And then obviously the players, you know, the players are quite accessible. They're on social media. I think the Lionesses feed on social media, on Instagram and stuff is really great. It shows the players, you know, having a laugh, being really grounded. And people want to watch them as individuals as well as the team sort of competing. So I think all of that combined, and the affordability of tickets, you know, tickets were affordable and lots of tickets were given for free as well. So I think lots of people will have been exposed to women's football who perhaps haven't. And then you've obviously got diehard fans who, you know, watch women's football through the Barclays Women's Super League and the Championship and stuff. So a whole range, but a lot of new people coming into the game for the first time and seeing how amazing it is and actually acknowledging the atmosphere for people who've been to matches. The atmosphere in the stadiums has been brilliant, and I've watched Lionesses games and I've watched other countries competing as well, and the atmosphere's been brilliant. It's been really friendly, really mixed crowd, you know, young, old, all genders. It's just been amazing.
And obviously we've seen record numbers of fans at Wembley, a record viewership on TV. Is this the start of something for the women's game, do you think?
I'd like to hope it is the start. I mean, I have to say, we're building from a 12-month where the profile and trajectory of the game was growing anyway, and that's amazing. But I'd like to hope this is the start, not just in terms of women's football on the pitch and growing those crowds, but as Leah Williamson, the captain, said, you know, this is about also women's place in society and more equality in society. And obviously for us at Women in Football, we're really focused on women working in the football industry, and many of our members work in the men's game actually. So this creates a huge opportunity, not least also for the legacy and sustained kind of impact now for young people wanting to play the game. The FA have invested huge amounts in the grassroots game, and the legacy has been at the forefront of these championships when we were bidding for them. So there's a lot to come now in terms of equal access for girls and boys in school to play football, more female coaches being qualified, more female referees and officials being qualified. So I think those role models, on and off the pitch, are very important.
And I think one of the top tweets on the Lionesses hashtag today is of a young girl standing right in front of the TV, watching the game, with the caption, "This is why it's important." It seems like people generally do understand the significance of this tournament, doesn't it?
I think so. I've spoken to so many people, like absolute strangers, and then people that I know, and people do sense that this is a real moment in time, and like I say, for that wider impact as well. And I've seen so many young girls like absolutely buzzing yesterday on the tube on the way over to Wembley. 2 young girls and their dad, and they had their face paint, they had their nails done, they had their kit on, and they were just looking so excited. But equally, I've got an 11-year-old son, and he has been absolutely blown away. When Russo scored that goal, that nutmeg, he messaged me. He wasn't at the game, unfortunately, but he was like messaging me going, "Best goal ever, Mum." So it's not just young girls that are being inspired by this. I think a next generation, that sort of age group, they are used to seeing women's football on TV now, and this will become the norm, and that's the exciting potential for this tournament for me.
Let's take a break now. In part 2, Yvonne will discuss what more can be done to push women's football to the next level.
There isn't enough money in the game at this stage, despite the fact that there's broadcasts between Sky and the BBC, despite the fact there's more commercial revenue coming in, and it needs to filter down more.
So Yvonne, I understand there are still some roadblocks to women's success in football, and one stat that stood out to me on your website was that 82% of women in the industry said that they faced obstacles in their football career. Can you tell us what those obstacles are and what's being done to improve that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's be honest, this is still a very male-dominated industry, and sport has often been designed by men for men. So it's really important that we have women in leadership positions so that they're part of the decision-making processes. A more diverse board brings diversity of thought, brings better outcomes, whether that's in sport or in business. So some of that kind of not being listened to, not having the same opportunities, that closed network, maybe lacking confidence, a bit of imposter syndrome, all of these things can play a role in women not feeling included or having those inclusive environments. So it's really important that men see the opportunity and the benefit and value that women bring into the industry and actually get behind and open doors and challenge discrimination where it exists, because that's really, really powerful.
And after the Euros final win, there were calls from Rio Ferdinand for more FA support for the Women's Super League. What do you think the league and also lower leagues in the women's game need?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everyone can always do more, and of course the FA can do more, but let's not forget the FA have invested heavily in recent years, and we see the results of that through the success of the Women's Super League, the way it's been set up. It's the most competitive league in the world. That's why we're seeing megastars coming and playing here. The fact that the teams within the league are so competitive means that teams like Chelsea and others, they're getting into the Champions League, which means more high quality minutes on the pitch. And that absolutely reflects in the domestic success that we've had, because the Lionesses players are getting a lot of minutes, and that's really, really important at this level. What could be done more? More investment, of course. There isn't enough money in the game at this stage, despite the fact that there's broadcasts between Sky and the BBC, despite the fact there's more commercial revenue coming in, and it needs to filter down more. So we need more investment at the top level, and we need more investment sort of through the Championship and into the National League as well. What's brilliant to see is, front runners like Barclays getting involved, sponsoring from an early point, and they actually sponsor women in football as well. So not only are they supporting the on-pitch activity, they're helping us to make a difference to the industry and make it more gender inclusive.
And in terms of, constantly improving the quality of players, do you think more needs to be done in terms of setting up academies similar to those we see at clubs in the men's game?
I think there's definitely a need for pathway provision. Whether the traditional academy structure is right at this moment in time, I'm not sure. They're looking at sort of satellite centres and hub centres, because one of the big challenges is that where those academies do exist, they're often way out in suburbs. They're not that accessible, and if you don't have the means to be able to get over there, however many days a week, after school, after college, etc., then you're going to miss out on that additional training and potentially professionalism within the game. And the game is going to miss out on some incredible talent because the access isn't there. So I know the FA have done quite a significant review of the player pathway, and I'm sure there'll be more information coming out about that. But it is really important. Number one, let's get girls playing locally and let's get them really enjoying the sport. So that base is big in terms of the number of people playing. And then number two, let's make sure the pathway is accessible, is open to everyone, is actively in places where all sorts of young girls live and represent different communities. And then, let's make sure that that's got a good feed into the club structure.
So going forward, Yvonne, how confident are you of more success for the Lionesses?
They've come through this tournament calm, composed, skillful, professional, role models, unbelievable, and they have been successful. They've just beaten an incredible Germany side who are used to winning. They've won this competition 8 times, and the Lionesses have just absolutely nailed it with that victory yesterday. So I'm absolutely confident, not only leading into, the Barclays Women's Super League, but also into, let's not forget, a World Cup in 2023. So it's a very, very exciting time for women's football.
There's more on the England Women's Euros win in the Evening Standard newspaper and online at standard.co.uk. That's The Leader. Thanks for listening. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m.